to start up the virtual machine. Cool. Here we go. Has anyone looked into why, or what makes a game a good game? Why do people get addicted to certain games?
Mm-hmm. My whole life, basically.
Sorry?
I said that's my whole life's work.
I pay attention more to like what I like. So
Okay.
Like if I ever start making games, then I'll start making games like.
But all the games that are popular has some kind of counter. Okay, it has numbers, so you can actually see how you're performing. Okay, that's one thing. And then these days, most games have a social aspect to it as well. So you're not just it's not just you versus the game. It's also like either competing with somebody else, you're cooperating with somebody else.
Like it's a way to hang out with people, basically.
Yeah, that too. Yep.
I have one question.
Okay.
Is internationals we need this to be signed and
Oh, okay, sure.
and just
The intro grade.
predict it,
Okay.
and if I need any.
Yeah. You only got 1 day sick, right? That's all.
One. Okay.
All right. So the next thing we're going to do with this is to actually put in the logic to detect collision. So now I cannot use a stub anymore. We just have to say, okay, how do we know that XY being the center of a potential circle is not colliding with anything else? So we throw away the false, okay, because we need to check this time. So the way we check is we need to somehow maintain all the ones that we have drawn so far. Otherwise, you have to go through the entire screen, which is not very feasible. Well, actually, that's not the case, because if it's potentially colliding with another circle, you do need to know the coordinate of all the circles. So we need to maintain a list to do that. So that list can be maintained in initialized circles. And we do have that list already. I think it's called circles, which is an empty list to begin with. Oh, this is here somehow. Okay, but here's circles. So that means in initialized circles, we have to keep track of that list. The first thing we do is to set that list to empty again, just to be sure. So we set circles to be an empty list at the beginning, and then every single time we add a circle, we will add it to the list. Okay. So after we test everything, let's see. So we have to expand this block. Okay, that is. Oh, it just didn't draw correctly. Okay. So when we draw the circle, we'll also add it to the list. So it's a list operation. We just use add, which is appending to the end of the list. The list that we're adding to is circles. So we have global variable circles. And the item that we're adding is a list itself, because we need to store at least the coordinates of the center of this particular circle. So we have to create a list of at least 2 items. So we have the first one being the local variable x. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just trying out different shortcuts to see if I can get local variable x. So get local. Nope. Huh. Interesting. It doesn't let me access local variables. So we put X here, and then we put Y here. If you want to make this program more flexible, you can always add the radius as well. Okay, but in this case, we are drawing circles of the same radius, so the radius is not needed to track the circles. So I'm not going to add it here. On the other hand, if I don't want to keep track of the radius as a global variable, it is helpful to track the radius here. So I'm going to put the radius there anyway. So we can always put it in the list and not to use it later on. Okay, so I'm just going to add it here. And the list now has 3 items instead of 2. There we go. Okay, so now that we have this information, it's a lot easier to deal with it. Okay, and when we use colliding with other circles, I'm going to add one more thing here, because I want to also specify the radius of the circle that I am about to draw. Okay, just so that this way we have a little bit more information, and we can tweak the program a little bit later. So this R needs to have the same R, which is here. I'm parameterizing a little bit more than what I need to, just so that the algorithm or the subroutines can be used in a later version of this program. Okay, so colliding with other circles, based on X, Y, and R, and also the list of all the circles. Now, circles is a global variable to begin with. In other words, I do not really need to pass it as a parameter, but if I want to make it a